everybody. I hope all of you guys are doing well. My name is Suyukti Ma'am, and I'm here to help you walk through the journey of how is it that you can get a 45 and above in the VARC section of the CAT paper. Now, we know for a fact that CAT is one of the most coveted, most reputed paper, and who does not want to get into the IMs? And not only the IMs, there are so many other good OMET colleges as well that one aspires to go through. But the journey to all of it remains the same. So I'm here to help you navigate through all of these obstacles and hurdles that one might have and ace like somebody who's just there to win the game. Without any further ado, let us begin with the roadmap that I have for all of you. Now, beginning with VARC में 45 plus का jackpot कैसे लाना है? So what we are going to talk now is going to help you master it like a pro. So if the IMs are your dream, here is, like I mentioned, your roadmap. Now, most of the times what happens is VRC boring लगता है. It's because we have those really long passages to ourselves and it's not very exciting. Now, who likes to read? Maths is fun. All of the other things are fun because it's numerical based. There are a lot of things and it changes with every question. When it comes to the reading comprehensions, it's the same old rut. We feel that, we're going on and on studying the same thing, which makes it very mundane. So yes, काफी ज़्यादा boring लगता है. Passage समझ में नहीं आता. To the extent कभी-कभी लगता है all options seem to look the same, right? So that is why we are here. Because the one thing that you have to know is VARC is not about just the English. There is a lot of strategy and mind game that goes to play. So let's break it down like any gamer would break a game which is going to be boss level. First things first, let's understand what the breakdown of the paper is likely to look like. So one must always know thy enemy, right? So what's in it? So we have almost 4 passages to ourselves, which are going to take about 16 questions. Most of the questions that you're going to have in the VRC section are going to be around inferences, tones, central ideas, etc. They're going to be a lot more, but this is where they pivot around. These are the ones that they handpick and really like. We then have the VA, which is called the verbal ability section, wherein we have the parajumbles, we've got the odd one out, and then we've got identifying the summary. There are oddly about 8 questions. Please always know grammar does have a role to play when we tend to be finding either of these, but they are only hints. It is always the logic that supersedes the grammar part of it. All of it in totality make 24 questions. That is what is ideally asked in the VARC paper. Now, the first way to be able to do good in the paper is a 4-level reading model. One must always know that you have to believe and already have it in your head that you are somebody who's qualified. If you feel crumbled, if your confidence shatters in any of the preparation mode, then it might just be a difficult task on the whole. So the first is, of course, whenever you tend to begin reading, make sure that you engage in what we call the keyword reading. So train your eyes to scan for tones, authors' opinions, and connectors. The moment you bump onto those, please make it a point that you are always underlining. We then have the second level, which is called the structure mapping. So break down the passage into intro, expansion, viewpoint, and of course the closure. So that if there's a part that's being asked from the conclusion, that is where it lies. This is what the introduction is, this is what the summary is, and of course whatever be the specific details that have been asked around. The third level is called the inference sensei. So that is ask what is not said but implied, because inferences typically are from the said about the unsaid. So you just probe yourself, push yourself a little with that information and ask what is the one bit of information that has not been said. And the fourth, of course, the elimination mastery. Treat every option as a suspect. So get your detective hat on and make sure that you're a Sherlock Holmes who is ensuring every option has been scrutinized to the last alphabet to be able to see if that is going to be right or not. Always eliminate. Don't select. Don't just keep them, because then you're always going to be confused. Make sure that you have enough reason and good reason to eliminate them, right? So what is going to be a practice tip? Take 2-3 passages a day and dissect it like a doctor would do an autopsy. Make sure that you know the ins and outs of it. You know every nuance of the passage as to why a certain answer and, of course, why not. Let's figure out what is the VA toolkit all about. Now, for the parajumble, so what we talked about right now were, of course, a couple of hacks that you need to know about the reading comprehension. Now, let's talk about the VA toolkit. So, what are the kinds of hacks that we have? When it comes to parajumbles, please make sure that you are able to fix the anchor statements. The anchor statements will always be the first and the last. They have to be set place, they have to be set right. So make sure the fact, the name, the contrast, all of these are a kind of symmetry that you're able to make. For the odd one out, look for that one sentence that always changes the tone or the topic. Either of these, even a slight bit of deflection onto either of these, you know that is likely to be an answer. Summary, pick the option that includes all central ideas, not just a piece. So it's not supposed to be a scene of the movie, it is supposed to be a trailer to the movie. So these are a couple of things that you must know. Now let's see, what should your 3-tier practice plan be? So now the first is called the base tier. In the base tier, what we do is we minimally solve 1 RC, 3 VAs daily, and that has to be every day with a time bound of 20 to 30 minutes. We then have the mid tier, wherein weekly sectional mocks get introduced to our regimen. And of course, the analysis. This is one of the most underrated, but one of the most essential and crucial things that you must always indulge in. Do that at least 2 times a week. And then when you get into the peak mode, that is towards August, mixed full mocks is what you're expected every third, fourth day. And then there is absolutely no stopping. Now, what are the kinds of pro tips that, we've always had from the toppers? You must not read like a student. Make sure you read like a detective. So as we talked about, make sure that you are being inquisitive about every word there. There's nothing called a misprint. It's there for a reason. All what you have to do is find out why. Skim the passage first, then scan the questions, and then read closely. Skimming and scanning has been an age-old but one of the most effective techniques when it comes to quick reading comprehension. And always remember that if 2 options feel right, both are wrong, because it is always that when you're stuck between 2 options, there's one option which is more right. You just have to have the judicious approach, the rational, to be able to decide which of the following is going to be more right. For making sure that your RC game stands strong, because of course most of the paper is all about the reading comprehension, you need to know that you will have to have the game mode on there. So what do? We have to be careful and we have to be quick in spotting the traps. So what are we going to do? Say, for example, take a question, identify why each wrong option is tempting. Train your brain to spot classic trap patterns, like if you see there's been an overgeneralization, if you think there's been extreme, very explicit language that's been used, if you think that's been a half-truth there, if you think it talks about things that have never been said in the passage. So these can be very quick pointers for you to know that this is not likely to be an answer. Please know, guys, your brain has a muscle. The way you train it is how it is going to be trained. So it's upon you to decide what you want to do with it. How should the mindset really be? Please make sure you don't aim to understand every word. Nobody's taking an oral, nobody's taking a dictation of yours as to what you've understood. At the end of it, for as long as you're able to answer the questions effectively, you're in a win-win situation. So aim to get the author's vibe. As long as, like we said, as long as you understand, you get the crux of what it is, even if there's a slip of information here and there, it's not going to make any difference. Confidence is greater than perfection. So you have to be confident and learn to believe in yourself. It's okay to leave a question if it smells fishy. Not everything is there to do. Strategy goes both ways. It's a double-edged sword. So if there is strategy for you to attempt a question, strategy also says leave it. And how should the sprint planning be? That is, how should you task yourself? Now, initial days, make sure that you're practicing the weak VA types and a minimum of 2 RCs daily, because you wouldn't get this time later. So now is the time for you to buckle up, to make sure that you've anchored strongly, and of course, take the plunge. So the thrust begins now. When you're halfway into it, your RC focus should be high on point. Passage diversity is something that you have to indulge in. Start reading eclectically, start reading from different genre. So art and culture, economic science, philosophy, psychology, etc. You have to make sure that you are touching base with each of these. In the final lap, please make sure that you're doing as many mocks as you can and even a deeper analysis of it, because it's just not doing the mocks that's enough. If you don't realize where you're going wrong, maybe that's going to be a dead end for us. So we have to know what the silver lining has in terms of the mocks to offer for us. So what are some golden add-ons? Please make sure mock tests are non-negotiable, that you are doing it in good mood. It's not that you're doing it for the heck of it. You're doing it because it's going to be a benchmark, which is going to help us decide the parameter as to, how your preparation is going to be. So take full length mocks every third or fourth day and spend double the time analyzing the problems. Past year papers, another gold mine, one of the most underestimated, but you should always make sure that you attempt one just to be able to know how much more do you have to be working around. And mock mehnat isn't just solving, it's studying your own brain. Try and understand what fatigues your brain. How is it that you can do better? Where must you start with? It does not always say one has to start with the first passage. If you think the second passage is science and tech and that you are a pro in science and tech, begin with that. So make sure that whatever you begin with is something that is your A game. A couple of things that we need to know: how can we enhance reading? Because of course, needless to say, reading is one of the most important requirements. It's one of the most important prerequisites of our preparation. So there is no visualization of 45 and above in VRC in case reading has taken a beat. So let's see how is it that we can get better with reading. You are of course to read daily. Make sure that you're picking up 2 editorials at least. It could be the Hindu, the Indian Express, the Aeon, or whatever be the article, but please touch base with reading. Do not neglect or ignore reading at all. Skimming and scanning. Now, you wouldn't have the time. You have 40 minutes to solve the section. You don't have all the time in the world to be able to do the reading. And again, very minute, very incisive reading. So skimming and scanning, again, should be something that you need to know at the back of your hand. So train yourself as to how should you be spotting keywords, the transitions, how the tone tends to shift. Summarize everything. It will help you for even the summary writings. So when you read a passage or an article, just summarize, get it together. Clutter the ideas together, condense it and think that, okay, this is what it is likely to be about. It will help your mind register information better. Read widely. Like we say, one must not just be reading for the heck of reading. You have to make sure that you're doing diversified reading. Learn, listen to ideas. Make sure that you're using Blinkist, Audible, podcast on tough topics, because a lot of times it's the perspective building that is required. So once your perspective enlarges, you will begin to understand the context all by yourself. Join some reading clubs. You can have 3-4 people meet at a cafe sometime and do some sort of good reading. That is also one of the very, very good ways, because most of you guys must be slammed with work otherwise. So the weekends can be a good getaway to be able to do either of these things. So discuss the passage, decode the tone, share your learnings, because that peer group learning is one of the best ways in which you can. And always make sure that your critical thinking mode is on. Always ask what's implied, what's hidden. Don't just agree to what's been given to you. Always come up with a curious mindset as to why is this happening. And of course, in the end, all what I'd like to say is that VARC is not all about making your grammar Nazi. So we're not here to make sure that our grammar is on point. It's not for you to get on point as to how well are you reading. It's about how well you attempt what you know. It's all going to come down to what your score is going to be. And for us to be able to have a perfect score, or to be able to have us a good enough score to help us, see where our eyes want us to, then at that point of time, you will have to make sure that all of these things that we've talked about is somewhere or the other being inculcated. Because only with sincerity and discipline is 45 above really to happen. So it's about training your brain to read, think, and eliminate like a cat taker. So prep smart, not just hard. It's always the smart work. And remember, inference is the new black. I hope you get the pun here. Thank you so much. I hope all of this information was very helpful. If you think it did help you, please make sure you write it in the comment box. I would feel very glad reading those reviews. Also, if you think that there's something that's bothering you and that you want me to make a video around it, you can also write it in the comment box and I would come around making a video on it. Share it with like-minded friends if you think they are also struggling and that they might just need a little bit of plunge, a little bit of push to be able to, get to where they are, or there's a place of saturation that's where they've been stuck onto and that they have to get out of that bog. This video could be their go-to thing. All things said, if you like the video, you hit a like. And with that, it shall be me signing off. I'm going to see you guys next week with another video. In the meantime, please make sure that you inculcate some of these techniques that we have, because all of this will come in handy. And if you implement these with utmost sincerity, there is no stopping. Thank you so much.